The NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Game Time. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use promo code CFBX on your first purchase to save $20. Download the Game Time app and use promo code CFBX. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play Underdog Pick'em in college or NFL and win up to 20 times the amount in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. We're also brought to you by VSiN. Sign up now and save 40% on their football season special when you use promo code SGP. VSiN.com/subscribe, promo code SGP. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for player props, parlays, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and make smarter bets today. Yes, sir. We are back with another edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. No me, no the voice of the guy. It's me, really real, villain real, Terrell Farmer Jr. here at your service.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar.
Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Tell them to bring me my money.
All right. And you know, it's Thursday night football preview. So I have my guy, Scott Studio Rochelle with me. Scott, what's going on?
Scotty, beat me up.
Surprise.
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to it. Should be a pretty good Thursday night game. A couple of the ones we had earlier this year were snooze fest, if we're being honest, but the spread is close. Total's decently high. Should be a fun division game.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what everybody assumes is going to be the high flying, big lights, big, you have the Lions, you have the Packers, but I just, it just feels like this is going to be what we are used to seeing on Thursday night. This is going to be a boring game. And by boring, I mean it's going to be a lot of good defenses. The offenses aren't going to look that good on a short week. And we're probably going to go under the total again.
Probably. But at least the game might be competitive.
Yeah, no, it'd definitely be a competitive game. What was not a competitive game was last week between the San Francisco 49ers and the lowly New York Giants, who weren't even in the game at all. It was very disappointing, very tough to see as a New York Giants fan. But, we are on to another week. I hit another first touchdown bet. Ronnie Bell, 40-1. Shout out to Jake for bringing that to our attention. And in the chat, we were able to add that to the card last week. And I gave it out on the SGP show that I did right after. Ronnie Bell, 40-1. Scott, 3-0. 3-0 first touchdown bet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point, I have zero expectations for this week. I mean, I just made the picks and I'm just letting them be whatever they are. I didn't want to change up my process at all. I didn't want to affect anything. I just wanted to sit here and say, here's the best, because this is an absolute heater that I don't know if I'll ever replicate in my life.
I mean, I'm not near you. I'm trying to remember if I got one or two.
You got
I think I have one. I think I have one.
Hawkinson.
Yeah, I got Hawkinson. I think that was it. So yeah, you're ahead of me by a couple.
Yeah. All right. So we can go ahead and get into the slate. Like you said, the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. This line opened up Lions -1.5. I've seen it flip up and down. That half a point, that hook has tried to come down. So I've seen some -1s out there. There are some -1.5s out there. Consensus says it's still at -1.5, but it could just watch the line. Total's at 46.5 is where it opened at. So you're losing half a point there. Let's see what we can scramble up here in an injury report for this game. Whenever Well, that's frozen. My computer screen's frozen. Hold on. Let's go try to pull this back up on my phone here. So, same thing for the Green Bay Packers as we've been trying to figure out for the past week and some change. Is Aaron Jones playing?
I think he's going to. It
It
sounds
sounds
like
like,
he's been practicing earlier in the week, and he should be ready to go.
and that's what I'm kind of reading of it. I have handicapped this game and everything off of Aaron Jones playing finally. What is not as clear, and what probably should be, what would hopefully be as clear, Aaron Jones' first 2 days of practice was limited. Christian Watson, who did not participate the first day of practice, and then he did. Well, the Packers only held a walkthrough on Tuesday, so everybody really, did not do much. There was actually no practice on Monday and a walkthrough on Tuesday, so that's all they did. This short week that's just crazy. They didn't even really practice this week. There was no practice on Monday, so everybody is really a DNP. The only limited participants are people that came in and just kind of did some light stuff, but nobody participated in practice on Monday. Everybody did a walkthrough on Tuesday, so it's really hard to gauge on who actually is really, really ready for this game. But the injuries that we do have listed for the Packers: Zaire Alexander with a back injury, David Bakhtiari with rest. You have Devondre Campbell, an ankle injury, LaShawn Gary, a knee injury, Elton Jenkins, a knee injury, Aaron Jones, a hamstring, Christian Watson, a hamstring, Carrington Valentine, cornerback, biceps, Zach Tom, lineman, knee, and Zane Alexander, a safety with the hamstring. So rather extensive, but it's football season. That's what we kind of expect to see at this point. For the Lions did conduct walkthroughs on Monday and Tuesday. So not really, again, can't really tell you too much of who practiced, who didn't, because they only did walkthroughs. But here we have Taylor Decker, ankle injury. He is questionable. You have David Montgomery with that thigh injury, Emmanuel Mosley with the knee hamstring injury. You have Frank Ragnar with a veteran's rest. You have Matt Nelson, ankle injury. Another tackle there on that line, Jonah Jackson, a guard, thigh injury. So a lot of offensive line injuries and a couple of defensive injuries with David Montgomery as well for the Detroit Lions there.
Yeah, by the way, it does sound like Montgomery is going to play, according to earlier
Yes,
reports.
that's what it sounds like. It sounds like to me as well. All right. I mean, for me, it's simple. You take the under for sure. I mean, is Jared Goff outside? It's not a good
Yeah.
combination.
I don't know about that, though, because they did beat Green Bay in the final game of the season in Lambeau last year. So I don't know how much of that's actually,
when it was their freaking Super Bowl, they had nothing to play for. They couldn't even make the playoffs. The win made nothing for them to make the playoffs. They
I
really
think
just
my
went out
point
there
was
to keep Green
Goff
Bay
has
out.
been. My point is Goff's been better outdoors recently than he was earlier in his career. That's kind of my point.
Has he really? I'm
I think he
gonna
has.
double check that. I don't think so, but I'm gonna double check that while you continue to talk.
But my point is, I understand the argument, though, is that Goff maybe doesn't exactly make people feel that comfortable. I don't think Goff's that bad, and I think he's actually been decent for the last year and change. And I feel like a lot of people are still kind of remembering him from all the really bad moments that he had during that year or two span. But I don't think he's that bad. Simply put, I think he's okay. But I guess the question I have to ask for you is, even if you aren't the biggest Goff fan, are you a fan of small sample size Jordan Love? Who do you think has the better quarterback in this matchup? I think it's easily Detroit.
I mean, I guess you could say that because of veteranship, but I'm pretty sold on even when Jordan Love has looked bad, he still made some really good plays and helped lead that team to come back from 17-0 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, once again, I'm not saying Jordan Love's bad. I'm just saying if you're asking me who I think is better right now, I think Jared Goff's better. Plus, I don't know if the outdoors thing for Jared Goff even applies because didn't they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead in week 1?
Yeah, they beat the Chiefs, but he didn't look good. Did you think he looked good? They didn't. That offense did not look good. That offense did not look good.
Goff was fine in that game.
They scored 14 points on offense. They had a defensive touchdown that game, only scored 21. They only scored 2 touchdowns on offense. That's
Yeah,
really
but
bad.
the Chiefs also have a top 5 defense in the league. So I think once again,
Do they? I don't think it's a top
the
5
Chiefs this year, hell yeah, they got a top 5
No, I
defense in
don't
the
think
league.
it's a top 5. No, there's a whole bunch. The Green Bay, I think, has a better defense than the Chiefs.
I completely disagree. I think Kansas City so far this year easily has a top 5 defense. Then again, Chris Jones didn't play in week 1. So that also applies. But still, no, I think Kansas City is a very, very good defense.
I think that I would put Green Bay above them with the pass rushers that Green Bay has and that secondary, and plus they have probably one of the better corners in the league. I think I'm putting Green Bay above them.
Well, Jair is going to play in this game or no? Because he missed the last week.
He is questionable. I mean, I can't really say much. We're recording this on a Tuesday.
Yes, that's the point, is that they have a very good corner, but he wasn't there last week, and their secondary got torched. So it kind of depends if Jair suits up or not.
Either way, I don't think that I don't think Jared Goff is all of that in a bag of chips. That's ultimately what I'm saying. And I think that this is a little bit of a regression in a short week. There's a lot of people that feel like this is going to be some like 100-point game. Like there's going to go bet the over. Jared Goff going to go out here. And again, he's played on Thursday night outdoors before, and the offense only amounted to 14 points. I don't think that this is going to be an over game. I think this is clearly an under game. The issue that I have is if I like the Lions to actually get a win in Green Bay, which is something that they very seldom have done over the past 30 plus years or so. A little bit more in recent history, but if you look at here, the Lions since 2011, they're 4-8 straight up in Green Bay, which is actually, again, pretty impressive compared to the last 30 plus years or so. 5-7 ATS. As a favorite, they're 1-1 straight up, and the over is 2-0 in those games. And every time they were a favorite,
they were favored in 2 games.
The only reason they were favored is because those were backup quarterbacks. They have never been favored since it was like some crazy stat that's like some 1960 or something like that. They have never been a favorite when the Packers had their starting quarterback until today.
Okay.
So those were backup quarterbacks, and they still went 1-1, by the way. So Lion team history does not do well as a favorite in Green Bay. Or, well, it's 1-1, but still, those are backup quarterbacks. I think I trust Matt LaFleur. I think I just trust Matt LaFleur more than Dan Campbell in this spot, in this Lions team. I was already down on this Lions team earlier on in the season, and I felt like they were just that cute team that everybody really, really wanted to be good. Like, oh, yeah, the Lions are finally going to be good. They're finally going to win the division. We should get behind the Lions. Everybody's talking about Super Bowl apparitions, all this. The defense still looks pretty bad. They haven't shown me anything on offense that makes me feel like I 100% need to back them. Matt LaFleur is 4-1 as a divisional dog, ATS. Now, none of those situations have been against Detroit. They've never been a divisional dog against Detroit, but 4-1 against the Bears and the Vikings when he's an underdog. Currently sports his worst ATS record in the division, 2-6 ATS versus the Lions, compared to 5-3 ATS against the Vikings and 9-0 against the Bears. Bears really suck, man. Mm-hmm. It feels like this is 100% a coin toss game. This is not by any means a lock of me, but I'm rolling with the team that I thought was better going into this, and I think they have the better defense, and this is a Thursday night game where defense rules, so I'm rolling with Green Bay.
So going into the year, I picked Green Bay to win the division. I just thought that Detroit was a bit overvalued, and I thought that Green Bay was going to.
Are you about to Benedict? Should I get the music?
I wasn't going to Benedict. Once again,
okay.
I still think that these teams are very close to each other. I think I was underestimating Detroit, though. Detroit is better than I thought they were going to be.
Please don't Benedict, because I don't have the music ready.
I wasn't going to Benedict. I'm just saying Detroit is better than I thought they were going to be, but I still think it's kind of a toying cause for that division. But I disagree completely about Detroit's defense. They were bad for one game at home against Geno Smith. I thought they were good against Kansas City, and they gave up 6 points last week. I know Atlanta doesn't exactly have a great passing game, but they shut down Bijan. That counts for something. I don't think this defense is that bad. So I think that's one of the bigger surprises. I really did not think they'd have a good defense at all going into the year, and it's kind of been better than anticipated. Now, for Green Bay, they had a very nice win last week. They came from behind. I do want to ask you, though, how much of that is credit and how much of that's kind of luck that Derek Carr got injured?
I mean, it wasn't like they were going out there. Derek Carr and the Saints wasn't out there doing God's work on offense or anything like that before
I'm just
Derek
saying they
Carr
were
got
down
injured. Like the
17
defense
nothing.
was doing their part. The portion of the entire game is just the fact that the offense could not get moving at all whatsoever. So I don't think Derek Carr going down had much to do with it at all. I think that the defense was playing pretty solid. They only gave up 17 points to that portion, despite the offense literally not being able to get anything going. I think that it didn't play anything into my handicap of thinking, oh, Derek Carr went down, that's why they ended up getting a win.
I kind of have to mention it because they were down 17 nothing, and then Carr got injured, and Winston was fine. They actually had a shot at a go-ahead field goal with about a minute to go, and they missed the field goal. But still, I think for this game, first of all, I agree with the under. It's a no-brainer under for me. I'm not making a case for the over in Green Bay. It's not freezing in Green Bay yet, but it's still outdoors, and I think both offenses are going to be a little bit, I'd say, I don't want to say flat, but I'd say maybe a little bit shaky since you have to bring back a couple running backs that haven't exactly played in a week or two. So I do wonder how the rotations are going to work there in the backfield. I think for this game, I think I am going to lean to Detroit. I don't feel great about it. I think it's a 3-point game. I really think it's going to come down to the wire. But my favorite play is the under. I think you can argue that the side's a coin toss, but I do think that Detroit, talent-wise, is the slightly better roster. So I am going to lean to Detroit. But I do like the under. I think the under is a good spot. I think that this total is way too high. And I think that you're probably going to see a game reach probably the low 40s, give or take. Like I could see a 23-20 type game. That's kind of what I'm anticipating.
I think Detroit is really overhyped.
I think they were overhyped too. I just, once again, was so anti-hype that I might have underrated them in the process. I think I overdid it. That's kind of
I haven't. I mean, I think the only thing that's impressed me to this point is the run defense. I think that's really it. Outside of that, they're really lukewarm against the pass.
Okay.
They're terrible against tight ends. Like they give up this. The secondary is just not it. And then you take out CJ Gardner-Johnson, where that's a huge L that I don't think anybody's really talking about, how the fact he's not even coming back this season and what he meant and signing him meant for this secondary, what his energy just brings to the defense. And I mean, that's how you beat the Packers. And that's why I had the Lions over the Packers, because I thought that, okay, yeah, they can stop the run. If you stop the run and you make Desmond Ridder a passer, then of course you're going to be not Packers, but the Falcons. Then of course you're going to beat the Falcons. And unfortunately, the Packers, what they can't do is stop the run, and that's the issue. Like they can't stop the run, and that's why the Falcons make that a closer game. And I think it's a little bit of gambler. Like people are going to have a little bit of gambler's theory to this. Oh, the Packers lost to the Falcons. Oh, the Lions just beat the Falcons. We should all get on the Lions because that means the Lions are better than the Packers. And I don't think that's the case. I think the Packers have a better defense. I don't think that the quarterback difference is that much of a difference. Yes, Goff is ahead of him by veteranship, leadership, all that stuff. Goff is ahead of him, but I don't think it's that big of a difference. And I actually think that if Aaron Jones comes back, that's going to really even the playing field between these two teams. So let's go ahead, and before we get into our first touchdown bets, I got to talk to you about the Game Time app, because Game Time is where you can go and get the best possible deals for wherever concert, playoff games, WNBA playoffs going on, kicking off in about 30 minutes. We're trying to get up out of here so I can watch the game uninterrupted. And we also have you could get WWE events, you can get comedy concerts, you can get all this stuff. Just go download the Game Time app and look around. Don't even do nothing yet. Just look around, and I promise you'll find something you're interested in. Lowest price guaranteed, especially for last minute tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. And again, if Game Time always means you'll get the best possible price. So if you find a ticket in the same section or row for less, they will credit you 110% of the difference. Again, create an account and redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're also already about Underdog Fantasy. Look, here's a chance where you can win 20 times your money in a single game by going and placing an underdog lineup. If you followed us the last NFL Gambling Podcast, you made money because guess what? We hit another underdog lineup on this show. I mean, Scott and I are just underdog lineup kings at some point. We need to change our names because we're just going to keep hitting these 3 picks. And so from now until October 4th, underdog is matching 100% of first deposits up to $500. Just make sure you use code SGPN and they will match your first deposit up to $500. Plus, you have $100,000 Sundays continuing with Underdog Fantasy. So make sure that you use the $100,000 player of the week, and you'll have a chance to win $10,000 at the end of the week. Shout out to all the people who are Underdog's favorite by winning the $10,000 and not me. I will continue to advocate for myself every single week. And again, Underdog, if you do pick me, I promise you, I am planning on using a good portion of the money back into Underdog. So that's more opportunities to get your money back. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are going to take the money and run. I'm planning on reinvesting the money back into you. So I think you should really pick me. When you sign up for promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. All right. First touchdown. Scott, over to you. Who are all of your first touchdown scores?
Okay. So for the first touchdown score here, I decided to, since it is a pretty even game based on the spread, I did end up taking 2 players from each team. So starting off with the cheaper option, I'm assuming he's going to play, and since the Packers are not good against the run, I had to take Montgomery. I just had to do it. So I'm going to go with Montgomery at 8-1. I feel like it's a bit weird that he's currently priced with better odds than Gibbs is, which I think is pretty weird because, once again, Gibbs has no touchdowns on the season. He's not a red zone back, and Montgomery's supposed to play. So I feel like the only reason why Gibbs is cheaper is because they're not sure if Montgomery's going to play, or if they do, they're not sure what his workload is going to be. But he's the goal line guy. So if he doesn't play, my bet gets voided anyway. So I can take a gamble with that. But give me Montgomery. First touchdown score at plus 800. That's my cheapest option. But I do think, once again, when you're looking at the Green Bay run defense, I got to take somebody who's going to get all the goal line touches. And after having Jamal Williams on my fantasy team last year, I know how often Dan Campbell loves his goal line backs in the goal line situations. Give me Montgomery at plus 800 as my first choice. For my second choice, I thought about Laporta at 14-1, but Green Bay against tight ends this season have actually been decent. I think I'm just going to go with, do I want to go with relative chalk there? I think I might actually, no, I like him too much. Give me Laporta at 14-1. I just like him too much as a player. I wanted to go with Amon-Ra, and I'm not sure if Jair is going to play, so I got to keep an eye out for that. But I do think, looking at Laporta, I was a big fan of him at Iowa. I think he's just a very solid pass catcher. I believe he has the most receptions in tight end history in his first 3 games. That's NFL history. I think he has the most receptions. So the Lions love using him. I think he's a great tight end. And I do think that he's able to get open a pretty decent amount if you saw how good he looked against Atlanta last week. I think 14-1, just a pretty low. I think it's a pretty high number. I think it should be lower based on how often he gets targeted. I see DraftKings as 12-1. So shopping around, you can find better value. I'll go with Laporta at 14-1. Moving on to my 2 Packers here, I have Romeo Doubs at 15-1. I have to. He's got 3 touchdowns this year. He had a touchdown last week. He seems like he's Love's favorite target in the red zone. Maybe Watson plays this week. Maybe he doesn't. But Doubs and Love seem to have a chemistry. And I do like 15-1 for a guy that's already had 3 touchdowns this season. So give me Doubs at 15-1. And my last one is going to pretty much come as no surprise. I am taking a quarterback. I am going to go with Jordan Love. And I can currently get Jordan Love at the best price I see is 28-1. I'm taking 28-1. He had a touchdown last week. He's mobile. They can occasionally use read options, or he could just run for himself. But 28-1 for a mobile quarterback is a good price. You know that the people that listen to this show know that Terrell and I tend to gravitate to at least one quarterback, occasionally 2. But Love's mobile, and he's 28-1. Like, that price a little bit nuts to me. Give me Jordan Love at 28-1.
All right.
I'm assuming we're going to overlap on Love, if I had to guess.
No.
Really? That surprises me. Okay.
Did not.
I take it back.
All right. Time people's been waiting for. This feels like a lot of pressure, but you know what? It's just another day for me, and we're going to see what happens with it. Let's kick things off. I'll go ahead and start where we did agree. I have Sam Laporta at 14-1. He is,
He's
extremely
so good.
effective. He's currently, so I believe that he is currently has the most receiving yards of any tight end in the league. He has, oh yeah, and that's the stat you were looking for, which is he has the most receiving yards of any tight end in the first 3 games of their career.
It was either receiving yards or receptions, but the point is he's putting up historic numbers in his first 3 games.
So Sam Laporta has currently the most receiving yards of any tight end in the league. One historically the most of anybody in the first 3 games of their career. Second most receptions of any tight end in the league,
Okay.
8.
I was
And
close.
so
All right.
So we have all of that going for Sam Laporta. Really, really good tight end. And they've been utilizing him in the offense. And what I didn't hear you mention is that Amon-Ra is a little banged up. So, I mean, there could be no Zaire Alexander, but they're kind of just kind of trotting Amon-Ra St. Brown out there, which is crazy because his dad had so much to say for people that weren't, people that got injured all the time. And now Amon-Ra is dealing with all these injuries. But there we go. Sam Laporta, number 1, 14-1. For my other Detroit Lion, I went with the tight end. Give me Brock White at 55-1. Brock White. Look, he's on the field. He's on the field 47% of the time in this offense. Like, he still gets the work. And I already envision it. Like, I already can kind of see how they do it, where they line up like they're going to run the ball. They've probably been running the ball pretty effectively because, again, the Packers' 10th most rushing yards allowed to the running back position. I think the Lions are going to run the ball effectively here, but when they get in close, they're going to switch it up a little bit. And I can see a Brock White into the flat, and Jared Goff gets the option and flicks it over to him for a touchdown, and we score 55-1. So give me Brock White 55-1. I think that's a really good angle there. He's on the field, and I just think that's horribly mispriced for somebody that should probably be maybe around closer to 35, maybe 40. 55 just seems like a steal for somebody who at some point in the season is going to get a red zone touchdown. So I'll take a chance. Brock White at 55-1. For my Packers, I went with another tight end, 3 tight ends in first touchdown score this week. Luke Musgrave at 16-1. And this is really just a full-on fade of the Lions. The Lions giving up the most receiving yards to the tight end position. And Luke Musgrave is kind of similar in that Sam Laporta territory of rookie tight ends of they have the opportunity and they should be really good. He had a breakout week last week where he caught 6 of 8 balls and was able to put up a lot of PPR points. Now I expect to see him get into the end zone this week. Hopefully first touchdown score, but we'll see. I got him at 16-1. And for my last, the Green Bay Packers defense at 35-1. Because Jared Goff is outdoors. Jared Goff is going to a hostile Green Bay environment that is going to literally, I mean, they might be throwing trash at these players when they come out the tunnel because the fans remember, the players remember that this Green Bay team knocked them out of the playoffs. Not Green Bay, this Lions team knocked them out of the playoffs when they had nothing to play for. This Lions team knocked them out of playoffs when they had nothing to play for. I think that Green Bay, just the environment, Lambeau Field is going to be rocking. I think this defense is going to be flying all over the field. If Zaire Alexander is healthy, if the rest of the secondary is healthy, I think that Jared Goff is going to give them opportunities and they could potentially scoop and score, pick 6, anything like that. I have the special teams attached to it, so I can get a special teams touchdown if that is the case as well. 35-1, I'll take a chance in fate and Jared Goff in this spot. So there are my first touchdown scores. Sam Laporta 14-1, Brock White 55-1, Luke Musgrave 16-1, and Green Bay Packers defense and special teams 35-1. Whew, Scott felt the pressure there. If
There's
history,
no pressure on me. That's the problem with being on the top. I can't relate. So you're on your own in that area.
And granted, I really did want to get behind one of the running backs, but you know my rule. I'm not putting anything on.
You go 10-1 or higher.
10-1, and that's it. Like there's no, I just don't see the value in going for a first touchdown that's not 10-1. So, all right. Before we get into our props, I got to talk to you about VSiN because you can sign up now and save 40% off football season special with VSiN. Promo code SGPN. Make sure you use vsin.com/subscribe for and use that promo code SGPN because guess what? Sean and Ryan are going in a contest with the other VSiN shows to see who could sell the most subscriptions, and the winning show gets $1,000 Super Bowl future. But Sean and Ryan are willing to share that with the people. So this is what happens. Go to vsin.com/subscribe, vsin.com/subscribe. Use promo code SGP to sign up. And then take that receipt and go over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/vsin and submit your proof of purchase. And you will absolutely have a chance. If they win the contest and they get that $1,000 Super Bowl future, they will give you an equal piece if it hits. They will definitely do that. I mean, this is a podcast of the people. This is a podcast that's trying to give you money. So go to vsin.com/subscribe, promo code SGP, and then go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/vsin and submit that proof of purchase for a chance to win some of that Super Bowl future, because I know that we can sell the most for vsin. We can definitely do that. So let's get Sean and Ryan that win in the contest. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytic platform with player props, parlays, game lines, researching everything in the NFL, NBA, MLB, soccer. I used it for some of my player props today, so I can't wait to tell you about that. Any parlay idea into the Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer, and they will give you the hit rate of that parlay, which is really, really great. Stop betting in the dark and join the over 30,000 users. Wow, 30,000 users with the Hall of Fame Bets. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All righty here. Somebody just tweeted me Brianna Stewart over 22.5 for buckets. I mean, I can see it, but I'm still kind of mad at Brianna right now, so I'm not playing her. I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at the voters. I lied. I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at the voters. All right. We have player props. Who goes first here? Is it me or you?
I thought I always go first.
Yeah, it's you. Go ahead. Give me your first prop, sir.
So the first one I'm going to go with is going to be Jared Goff. I'm going to take him under 258.5 passing yards at -140. I think this number is too high, simply put, especially with Green Bay being pretty good against the pass and bad against the run. I do think that the Lions, assuming Montgomery's going to play, might lean a bit more into the ground game. But Goff's gone under this number in 5 of his last 7 games, dating back to last year, obviously. Packers are allowing just 199.7 passing yards per game, which is the 10th fewest in the league. And you mentioned that Amon-Ra's banged up, which is a problem since he's obviously the best passing option or receiving option for this team. And the Packers are allowing 136.7 rushing yards per game, which is tied for the 5th most in the league. I think 258.5 is too high. Simply put, I'll take the under at -140.
All right. Well, I'm going to give out a Jared Goff prop too, since you want to give out a Jared Goff prop. Give me Jared Goff over half an interception at +110. +110? Jared Goff outdoors in Green Bay after they just cost them a playoff berth last year?
By the way, it is pretty fitting that Goff was like 20 pass attempts away from the all-time record for longest stretch without a pick, and then he threw picks in back-to-back games. It's kind of fitting, isn't it?
It is perfect.
It's regression. It's going to happen. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think the regression rolls over into one more game because, again, his Green Bay secondary is pretty good. Green Bay, 7 fewest receiving yards to the wide receiver position. They guard the wide receiver really well. That's behind the back of Zaire Alexander, absolutely. And with Jared Goff, I mean, he's going to sling the ball around. Like, he's going to throw the ball around, and he's going to take chances. He's going to gamble. And I just think that this will be an opportunity for this Green Bay Packers defense to kind of clean up on that. So give me Jared Goff over half interception at +110. Think that's, I understand why it's plus money. I'm just fading it.
for me, I'm going to actually stick with the quarterbacks, and I'm going to take the exact same prop, but I'm going to switch it up a bit. I'm going to go with the interception market. Give me Jordan Love under half an interception at +110. I don't know why this is plus money. I don't really get it. He has not thrown a pick in 2 of the first 3 games of the season. He doesn't attempt many passes. Now, the argument could be Detroit's run defense might force the Packers into throwing a bit more, but we'll see. Once again, the Packers' running game hasn't exactly been great lately because Aaron Jones hasn't played. And I think we all know A.J. Dillon isn't a real starting running back. He's a backup spill guy. And I do think that Aaron Jones coming back will help out the ground game. But Love has attempted less than 28 passes in 2 of the first 3 games. So I don't really see the volume being there. He attempted 44 passes in week 3 because they were trailing for about the entire game. So I do think, once again, game flow played a factor in the pass attempts. They want to limit him to around mid-20s. And I do think because of that, interception at plus 110 does feel, I mean, a no interception at plus 110 does feel like a pretty good steal. And the Lions have also really not been good at intercepting passes this season. They intercepted Mahomes because the ball went right through Tony's hands and it turned into a pick six. And they have no interceptions in the last 2 games. So Detroit has 1 interception, which was pretty fluky because it was a perfect pass to Tony, and Tony literally ricocheted it right into the guy's hands. So I don't really trust Detroit's defense to intercept passes, and getting plus 110 for a limited number of pass attempts, I do think is a pretty solid value play. Give me Love, no interception at plus 110.
All right. I'm going over to the tight end, Luke Musgrave. So let's look at what the Lions have done against tight ends this season. And because it's a short season thus far, I'm going to read off every tight end. Kyle Pitts, 5 for 41. Jonnu Smith,
that's like 100 yards for Kyle Pitts, by the way. 40-something
Yes,
yards, that's like 100 yards.
Yes, it is. Kyle Pitts, 5 for 41. Jonnu Smith, 5 for 37. Noah Fant, 4 for 56. Cody Parkinson, 2 for 41. Will Dissly, 3 for 35. Noah Gray, 3 for 31. Blake Bell, 2 for 12. Argument potentially for Kyle Pitts because we know he's an athlete, but he just hasn't been used at all. Luke Musgrave is probably the best tight end out of that entire list. He's definitely the best tight end in terms of situation. The fact that he's really not sharing snaps for real, and he's dominating, whatever targets he does get, he's dominating him. He's not splitting them with DeGora consistently. Like, he's consistently the tight end target if there is a tight end target for Green Bay. Whereas Falcons, Pitts and Jonnu Smith. Seahawks, Fant, Parkinson, and Dissly. And Chiefs, at that point in time with no Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, and Blake Bell. You add those together, and Luke Musgrave, if he amounts to even barely the same level of production as these tight ends, by himself, he's going to get over this. 37.5 receiving yards, he's going to get over this. I like his over 3.5 receptions as well, because as you see, every single game, they've gone clear over 3 receptions to the tight end position. I think that this is a get right game for Luke Musgrave. I think this is the coming out party for Luke Musgrave. Or you could say last week was the coming out party, and this is just reinforcing it. I think Luke Musgrave can really have a pretty good day here, and it can either be through a high volume of receptions, or he can get that big reception that really takes a big chunk of this receiving yardage out. Over 37.5 just feels like stealing. So give me Luke Musgrave over 37.5 receiving yards.
I like the over in general for Musgrave because I said during our division preview of the NFC North, I thought Musgrave was a very underrated tight end, and I thought he'd have a very good year. And so far, so good. So you get an argument from me. My last prop's going to be actually a defense prop. I didn't like the kickers this week, so I'm going to go with a defense prop. I'm going to go with Rasul Douglas over 3.5 tackles and assists at minus 140. He's had at least 4 tackles and assists in 14 of his last 20 games. He's played every snap this year. He's not missed 1 snap. So he's going to be on the field every single defensive play. And he had 5 tackles and assists in each of the 2 games against Detroit last year. But once again, 3.5 for a guy dating back to last year who's gone over this number in 14 of his last 20. I think it's a really solid deal. I'll lay the 140.
All right. So my last prop is a little contingent, because I really wanted to fade that Green Bay run defense with the starting running back for the Lions, but I didn't get a line on that because they don't even know who the starting running back for the Lions is going to be. So currently, I have it handicapped as Zaire Alexander is playing in this game. If he's playing in this game, I love Amon-Ra St. Brown under 74.5 receiving yards. He's played 4 career games against Green Bay. He's only gone over this once. Green Bay has done a pretty good job limiting him. And I think that with Zaire Alexander out there, again, Thursday night game, expect this to go under, expect Lions to run the ball a little bit more. I think less opportunity is going to be there. And I don't think Zaire Alexander is just going to fold and let Amon-Ra, who's also a little banged up in his own right, just run around the field on him. So Amon-Ra under 74.5 receiving yards. However, I am watching the injury report on this, because if Alexander is playing, I'm not on this bet anymore, and I will pivot to whoever the starting running back of the Lions is in their rushing yards, because at that point we should know. But for the most part, I feel pretty confident about taking this bet because I do think that Alexander is going to play this week. And so I'm in St. Brown under 74.5 receiving yards. That is my last prop. All right.
I got no feedback on that. So
Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get into our DFS lineup before we get up out of here. Scott, over to you. You can read off your team, and then I will do the same.
all right, a reminder, Terrell and I use different platforms, so keep an eye out for that.
He's on FanDuel. I am on DraftKings.
Yes. So my MVP in this one, I actually went with Jordan Love as my MVP just because I do like the rushing upside, and I do think that there is a chance he gets a rushing touchdown. And if he does, that's definitely going to be in the $1 million lineup if he gets a rushing touchdown because Detroit's defense is fine, and I do know that Green Bay, once again, is going to try to get the run game involved with Jones probably being back in the lineup, but the Lions are good against the run. So I can see a world where Green Bay maybe sets up the play action, maybe ends up getting Musgrave involved a little bit, but I do think looking at Love as my captain, he impressed me last week, and he's impressed me this season. I think he's pretty solid. He's a consistent, I'd say, 18 to 20-point guy, and I do think with the rushing touchdown upside, that could get into the mid-20s. So I got Love as my MVP. For my flex, I actually went with Musgrave because of all the reasons you mentioned before. I think Musgrave's in a good spot to put together a solid body of work, and I do think that Musgrave is in line for what should be 50-plus yards, 5 catches, maybe a touchdown. Like, I think he's got a pretty good floor, and there is touchdown upside. So I did go with Musgrave there. I think he's in line for a good performance. For the other one, I actually did not pick Amon-Ra. I had to take a stand somewhere. I took Gibbs. And it's going to be a dangerous proposition because Montgomery's supposed to come back, and I know I mentioned before I like Montgomery anytime touchdown. But I feel like so many people are going to pivot to Montgomery that there's value on Gibbs because Gibbs still catches passes. He's still kind of a Swiss Army knife. Is Detroit using him properly? No. Can he still reach the end zone? Yes. And I do think that Montgomery, even if he does play, might be on a snap count. So I'm going to go with Gibbs as my third option here. I think Gibbs is in a good spot to maybe get low ownership for a guy who should be on the field a decent amount. Give me Gibbs as my third guy. My fourth one was obvious. I took Romeo Doubs. His 3 touchdowns this year. There's really not much more to say. Like, I think he's too cheap, and I do think he's in line for a pretty good spot here, especially if Green Bay can't run the ball. Give me Doubs at a salary of $10,500. And my last one is a bit of a rogue option here. I went with Dontavian Wicks at $7,500. I think he's cheap. And if you're looking at the actual receiving core for the Packers, he's currently second in snap count. Now, Watson might play, and that's going to throw a wrinkle into things. But I do think Wicks, as of right now, not knowing if Watson's going to play or not, has had a decent role so far with this team. He has a touchdown already this season. Give me Wicks at $7,500. That line just feels a little, that price feels a little bit cheap. I think it's a pretty good deal. So once again, my lineup, Love MVP, Gibbs, Musgrave, Doubs, and Wicks.
All righty. Following that up, I went contrarian because I think that this is a spot, especially with the short number, that again, everybody's using gambler's fallacy. Oh, the Packers lost to the Falcons. Oh, the Lions just destroyed the Falcons. Oh, the Lions are going to destroy the Packers. Not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. Give me Green Bay Packers defense, because I think defense does step up in this one. They're able to force turnovers. They're going to make things a little bit rougher on that Lions offense that I'm not 100% sold on. So I think this Packers defense, I gave them out for a first touchdown defensive score, so I think that they can get into the end zone. And if they do, I absolutely want those points maximized in that captain slot. So I went contrarian, Green Bay Packers defense for that is my captain.
Okay.
And then I followed it up with Gibbs, and that's kind of the hedge. I didn't know if Montgomery was going to play or not. I kind of went Gibbs because I can play Gibbs in 2 different ways. You look at what Green Bay is doing against the running back position this year, and they are one of the worst. They're giving up the 3rd most receiving yards to running backs, and they are giving up the 10th most rushing yards to running backs. What does Gibbs do really well? Catch passes out of the backfield. What can he also do? he can also be a running back and run. So I think that we can get an opportunity for Gibbs to finally have that game that everybody's been waiting for from him. And we might be a little bit on the chalkier side. I'm looking at his projected ownership, still projected 35% ownership. So a little bit higher. People are still backing Gibbs. I think he
I
pays
think it
off
might
this
go
week.
down if Montgomery's confirmed. It'll still
Yeah.
be around 30, but I expect less if Montgomery's active.
And Montgomery is currently at 6, but he's more expensive. I think that's also another reason is that he's more expensive than Gibbs.
Well, he's got more touchdown upside, which is the argument. But
I went with Aaron Jones for my next one. Aaron Jones, I mean, if he plays, he's going to be amazing. And again, Lions 7th most receiving yards, giving up to running backs. That's what Aaron Jones is like, one of the best receivers on the team. And so I think that he's able to catch out the backfield. I think he's a better runner than AJ Dillon. And they really did miss him these past couple of games. And I think that would have made that Saints game a lot easier if Aaron Jones was in there. So I think if Aaron Jones is healthy, he's going to get a healthy workload in this game. Sam Laporta, I took him as well. Very good tight end. I don't really have to say any more about Sam Laporta. Very good tight end, especially if Amon-Ra's a little banged up. I think he's going to get a lot of looks. I did have Jordan Love in my lineup as well. I like the rushing touchdown upside, and I just had the upside of if he gets the ball to Aaron Jones and the last person in my lineup, Luke Musgrave, then Jordan Love is going to produce fantasy points, and I want that on my team. So I went with the Jordan Love stack of him and Aaron Jones, kind of fading the wide receivers because this Lions team and the Packers are both really good against the wide receiver to begin this season. 7th fewest receiving yards to the wide receiver for the Packers and 8th fewest for the Lions. So I kind of faded receiver overall. That felt like a very different way to go with this lineup. So I have 2 tight ends in Musgrave and Laporta, 2 running backs in Gibbs and Jones, Jordan Love and Green Bay Packers anchoring the captain slot. This feels like a very, very good lineup for me. So very contrarian there on my lineup. Let's take it into lock again, anytime touchdown, and let's get an underdog contest in, and let's get up out of here, Scott, because the Liberty are kicking off now. Well, in about 5 minutes. So for my lock, come on now, under 46. It's Thursday Night Football. I'm not thinking too hard into this. Under 36. These games are consistently ugly. I just told you in the beginning of the show, neither of these teams have practiced. Neither of these teams practiced. They just did walkthroughs. Neither of these teams practiced this week. I expect to see a ugly, ugly game. I think anything can happen in this game. So I am 100% locked in on the under 46 for this one. And for my anytime touchdown, I am going with who am I want to go with this time?
You go Musgrave?
Or
you're
think
afraid
I
you
might.
have too much on Musgrave?
I have a lot on Musgrave. I do. Let's see here. Let me look and see what's interesting. Oh, Aaron Jones is a baby dog. I'm not interested in that. Not interested in any other running. I'm not interested. No, so Dylan is minus 120, and I think it's because there might not be optimism that Aaron Jones plays, but I think he plays. Gibbs and Montgomery are baby dogs. I'm not big on Amon-Ra. I don't even know if Watson's going to play. I really good on the yeah.
You want Green Bay defense? Special teams?
No, I'm just gonna go Musgrave. I'm not gonna think too hard about this. Lions suck against the tight end. I've been on Musgrave. That was the handicap for the show. I said that I felt like this was a breakout game for him. A touchdown definitely makes it a breakout game. Give me Luke Musgrave at 3-1.
All right. For my lock, I also wanted to take the under, so I might have to pivot a little bit. You know what? I think I'll go with my defensive prop that I mentioned before. I'm going to go with Rasul Douglas over 3.5 tackles and assists at minus 140. It's just random enough to work. I do think, once again, when he's gone over this number in 14 of his last 20, he's played every defensive snap so far this season. I think that he's in line to get some tackles, and he had 5 in each of the first 2 games against the line. Each of the 2 games last year against Detroit. So I do co-sign the under, but bad things happen when we double lock stuff, so keep that in mind. So I'm not officially double locking it, but I do like it a lot. I'm going with Rasul Douglas, though, over 3.5 tackles and assists as my lock. And for my touchdown, give me Romeo Doubs at plus 190. Once again, he's had a touchdown in 2 of the first 3 games this season. He has 3 touchdowns in general. He's Love's favorite red zone target. That's good enough for me. Give me Doubs at plus 190.
All right. Let's see here. Underdog pick'em contest. I threw Luke Musgrave in there higher 39.5 receiving yards.
Are you allowed to double dip, by the way? Can you take the receptions and the yards, or they don't let
You
you take the
cannot
score?
take two of the same
That's
player.
what I figured. Okay.
Yes, you cannot. There was no Rasul Douglas on here, so I could not play that for you.
I don't like the kickers, so we can't see if they have a picture or not because it doesn't matter. Shout out to Aubrey, by the way. Gave me a hard time, and that was the winning leg.
I mean, he didn't have a picture. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
know.
that was
Won anyway.
it was warranted. It was warranted though. He didn't have a picture. Like
He deserves a
everybody,
picture.
everybody on the Lions and the Green Bay have a picture. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But
Green Bay's kicker.
you know,
has a
he still
picture.
hit. So you wanna throw golf lower passing yards? I can co-sign that.
Oh, what number do they have? Because I saw that line was all over the place.
253.5.
I guess I was gonna say I got 258.5.
It's your prop, so if you want it.
I'll go Love under an interception.
Okay. So we have Jordan Love lower half an interception. That is prop number 2.
You co-sign that, by the way?
Yeah, I like Jordan Love. I think I'm the most pro Jordan Love out of anybody in SGPN. Actually,
I think he's good.
Yeah, I think he's good too. And they're not going to put him in situations in Lambeau. Like if this happens, it's going to be because of a tip ball. It's not going to be because Jordan Love made a bad decision.
And if Jones plays, there's a less volume for him to actually throw one. But all right, so we got
Let's
2.
see.
I mean, do you want to go with Amon-Ra under and go full contrarian? You want Laporta? What do you want?
I like Amon-Ra under. I mean, they've been really good against, but it's also like we don't know 100% about Zaire Alexander, and I will admit the fact that we don't know 100% about him. I could go Laporta. Laporta would not make me mad at all.
What's the number on Laporta?
Because I don't have. Let me see. Because they don't have golf interception up here, and we can do Amon-Ra under. We can do Laporta. Laporta's at 41.5.
Feels pretty low.
4 receptions. Green Bay's been kind of okay against tight end. Let's just go up. Yeah, we can go with Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra's at 73.5. That's a lot. For an under game, that's a lot.
Yep.
All right. We're throwing Amon-Ra in there. So there you go. Underdog contest for Thursday night football. Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions style. We have Jordan Love lower half an interception. Luke Musgrave higher 39.5 receiving yards. And Amon-Ra St. Brown lower 73.5 receiving yards. Scott, I don't think we've ever done 2 lowers and a higher. This can only go well. That is a 6-1 contest winner we just gave out, people. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN for new customers, and you can get your first deposit doubled up to $500. Scott, anything else for the people before we get up out of here?
No, not really. We're back once again for the afternoon games tomorrow. So on
Thursday,
yeah. So keep an eye out for that.
Absolutely. And for the 4 people that are catching us on the stream, make sure y'all come and check us out while we do this. 7 p.m. Tuesdays, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. We are here. Make sure you join us at NFL Gambling Podcast or on YouTube. Make sure you follow us there, and make sure you like the video. And if you're catching this late, make sure you like the video right now. And if you're catching this in your ears via podcast, make sure you go wherever you're listening to your podcast, leave a 5-star review for us. And you can say anything bad or good. Matter of fact, you should actually leave a 5-star review and just leave first touchdown, because I've given out first touchdown winners all season, literally. So I mean, come on, show us some love. That's all I ask. You win something with us. Just leave us a 5-star review. I think that's the least. That's the least you could do, because this is free, people. Free content we're giving you. Other than that, I have nothing else to say, nothing else to do. No other way of ending podcast. Just gonna end it like this. We are out of here.